morning, Wairarapa. This is Rob Maunsell on MMP for the 14th of October. No, it's not. It's the 15th of October. Thursday, 2 days before election. First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to Michael for stepping in for me last week. And he added an extra a word in the title of our show. He called it Mix, Mingle and Play. And in fact, we are Move, Mingle and Play. But I thought for the sake of his creative input, we'd alter the name of the show to Move, Mingle, Mix and Play. Today I have a special guest coming in. We've got Colette Rivers, a wonderful singer-songwriter, drama teacher, and resident of the Wairarapa, originally from America, moved here when she was 11. She will be in shortly to grace our presence. To start the show, I'd like to play you a song which will come through on YouTube. It's Bonnie Raitt with John Prine singing his wonderful song, Angel from Montgomery.
Since 1973 or so, when I first started to tour with John.
Cowboy, he weren't much to look at, just a free rambling man. But that was a long time, and no matter how I tried, the years just flow by like a broken down dam. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing I can hold on to believe in this living is just a hard way to go.
There's flies in the kitchen, I am there buzzing. I ain't done nothing since I woke up today.
How the hell can a person go to work in the morning and come home in the evening and have nothing to say? Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing I can hold on to believe in this living is just a hard way to go. is just a hard way to go. I love you, babe.
I love you, John.
Let's put ourselves to the test. Well, I want my witness to confess.
Here we go. Now you've got me. Hello again. Sorry you didn't get a picture of Bonnie playing with John. It was a beautiful concert. John Prine died this year. He was ill with cancer. He'd survived 2 different types of cancer, and then he got COVID, him and his wife, and they took him to hospital. He wasn't well for a while and then died. And so Bonnie is very sad to lose her great songwriting mate. And if you can, watch it on YouTube. That's a beautiful clip. Bonnie Raitt and John Prine, Angel from Montgomery. Well, Colette's turned up. Hello, Colette.
Hi.
Let me see. I'll turn your mic on. How's that? And there we are.
Okay.
Are you coming through? Just say a few words.
Well, hi, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, good. So we're doing a little sound check here as we go.
Yeah.
So Colette and I are going to actually co-host this show, and I was just explaining earlier on that originally we called it Move, Mingle and Play, and then Michael came along last week
Yeah.
with a wonderful interview with David Headley, and he called it Mix, Mingle and Play.
Okay.
So I
So
thought
what was it before?
Move, Mingle and
Move,
Play.
Mingle. Okay. Yeah.
And so now we're going to call it Move, Mingle, Mix and Play.
Okay.
So we're MMMP.
Which is probably better because you don't want to be confused with the other.
No, we're not political, are we?
No.
Golly, what a week this is, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
2 days till the election.
Although I've voted already. Have you voted already?
I haven't got organised to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I voted on one of the first days
Yeah,
down to do so. Yeah, it was.
I'm old school.
I didn't think that watching the debates for me personally were going to change
No,
how I
quite.
wanted to vote. So
Yeah.
it didn't make.
You've got
any
your
difference.
principles, and
Yeah.
you know who also has the same principles.
Mm.
That's good.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
pretty decided on that.
Yeah. Well, I'm old school. I vote on election day.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, it's you've got to have a real good reason for voting before election day. It's a whole ritual,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
and then everybody goes to the pub.
Oh, really?
Well, in the old days,
Which pub?
or
did you go
a barbecue or a party or
to?
something.
Yeah.
I think there are several parties around town
Are there?
on election day.
Oh.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't be telling people where the parties are, because I think it's invitation only.
Oh, is that
You've got to be a
right?
hardcore party member
Yeah,
or supporter, you
yeah,
see, from way back.
Yeah.
Should we
I'm
just...
happy just voting and forgetting about it and waiting to see what happens.
Yeah. So I brought along the front page of Midweek, which you're on camera. That's cool. I thought we just should read out who the candidates are to show how we're kind of unbiased. So Wairarapa voters have plenty to decide. The candidates standing for the Wairarapa seat are Nationals Mike Butterick, New Conservatives Warren Butterworth, Advance New Zealand's Nigel Gray, ACT's Roger Greenslade, Independent candidate Aileen Hayata, New Zealand First Ron Mark, Labour's Kieran McNulty, and Greens Celia Wade-Brown. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people vying for one position. Of course, some of them are already list MPs. Kieran and Ron.
Yeah.
And the standing MP is not standing again. So Mike Butterick's taken his place. And a little bit later in the program, if we've got time, we could say a little bit about each one. I've got all the information there that's
You've got
needed.
The info. I wouldn't be able to give you information on them.
No. So let's talk a little bit about you, Colette.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've introduced you as a singer, songwriter, creative musician and drama teacher, and an import from the States. But really, you've been here most of your life, haven't
Yeah,
you?
I have. I grew up in Taupo, so I feel like I'm a Kiwi more than I feel like I'm American, even though I've got the accent and I've got dual citizenship as well. So, but I think because I went through like intermediate as well as high school and university here in New Zealand, I feel like, this is home. Mum's a Kiwi. And my dad's
Well, that explains it.
Yeah.
And you had other family. Her family were in Taupo.
Yeah. So I had grandparents who are no longer with us, but still have aunts and uncles in Taupo, and my godmother there, and so that was sort of the place that everybody was. And when I'd get home from school, I could just walk over to my grandparents' house, and that kind of thing. So it was pretty cool. Yeah.
In the neighbourhood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Same neighbourhood.
So you've become a professional educator. It's your career choice, haven't you?
Well, I've had quite a few different careers in over my lifetime. So I've been a secondary school teacher only for the last 8 years, and actually this year I'm taking a year off to do music. So it wasn't a very good year to choose to try and do a tour or. Because I had all my gigs cancelled pretty early on, and then it's been a bit of a waiting game. We didn't really know how it was going to play out, with lockdown and everything. And, I think we came out of lockdown pretty quickly, considering what's going on in the rest of the world. But it's still... I think the backlash of that has had a pretty profound effect for musicians. Yeah, so...
You've had to adapt, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean... Yeah. You're not going to sit around and not do anything. So, like, I've been writing for my second album. I still haven't released my first album because I paused the release of that. That was supposed to happen at the start of the year. Yeah. And so I postponed that. So that's going to happen within the next couple of months. Yeah. And I've got about half of a second one done now. So
you've had time to be creative.
Yeah, and I've got my own studio and I produce my own music, so it makes it a bit easier because I can just not have to rely on getting together with other people to do it, So I'll play all my instruments and stuff like that. So
wow. Are you self-taught or did you have a music teacher?
A bit of both. I did piano lessons and everything from about age 6 to 11 or 12. Yeah. And then when I went off to university, actually, I couldn't take piano with me, so Dad lent me a guitar of his, and I took that down to Wellington with me. I studied at Victoria. And, so I learned the guitar a little bit. I had guitar lessons at school, like through an itinerant teacher. Yep. Like we've got at the schools here, we've got some pretty amazing itinerant music teachers that come in. And I think I discovered my passion, that I actually had a real passion for music probably while I was at university. It was starting to, but I was in bands and stuff, but I had a passion for theatre and drama as well as music, so I was quite interested in both.
So you actually studied drama at university?
I studied theatre and film. Yeah.
At Victoria? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that was a good experience?
Yeah, it was. It was fantastic. It was really good. And in the last 2 years, there were only 12 people in the class. Whoa. So you got to know everybody really well because it's lots of performance and composition and that kind of thing, which was really interesting. And but I think during that time I made the decision that I enjoyed being a director rather than a performer when it came to acting and that kind of thing. Yeah. So I had clear vision about how I thought things should be, but I didn't really have the drive to be in front of people. Yeah. And to be acting.
Yes, but you did some of that.
I did a lot of it when I was young. Yeah, so like through high school and stuff, I was in at least 2 or 3 big plays a year. Yeah. Yeah, but it's interesting how that can change and your passions can develop as you get a bit older. And
then you went into teaching drama.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I finished university and moved to London to become a flight attendant for Air New Zealand.
Oh.
And I did that for 3 years, going between London and Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
And
in a uniform every day?
Well, no, you have 4 days on, 4 days off.
Oh, not every day. When you're at work, though, you're wearing a uniform.
Yeah, well, only when you're on the plane.
And really? Cool.
Yeah.
But you're playing a role in that sense, aren't you? Is it a bit like acting? Or you're more yourself?
I think you've got professional standards that are expected with and I was young enough that I was, happy to put makeup on and look glamorous and whatever, like they expect you to. And it was a pretty cool lifestyle because I had 3 days off in Los Angeles before you then turn around and fly back, and then 4 days off in London and pretty good holidays. So, for what it was, and Air New Zealand looked after us really well. So it was a good job.
That was after your degree.
That was after my degree. I wanted to go traveling, and it was a good excuse because it was a visa.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to actually even use the working holiday visa that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And then I set up a photography company, and I did photography for like 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In London?
In London, yeah.
Wow.
Car photography, mostly.
Cars.
Bit of portraiture. It started with fashion and music photography.
Yeah.
And then it kind of morphed into photographing Formula One race car drivers.
At the racetrack?
Sometimes at the racetrack, sometimes in a studio.
Mm-hmm.
And but we'd set it up with sort of studio conditions, but often you'd only have a few minutes with them while they're, say, on a test day. You'd often go. But that morphed into photographing the cars themselves. And I've always really liked cars and been really interested in especially classic cars and supercars. And so I became a supercar photographer.
All right.
Yeah, and did a lot
Don't they all look the same?
No.
What?
Not supercars, because they're
only Holdens or Fords.
The high-end cars. And it was quite interesting to go to motor shows and things as well. Like I got to go to the Geneva Motor Show a few times, and because I was shooting, like the bread and butter work I was doing was for Top Gear magazine.
Yeah.
So going and looking at new cars as they came out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But most of the stuff I did was PR and advertising for the actual car manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So when did you learn to take photographs?
Well, I did photography at high school, and I did. So when I was at high school, most of the subjects I did were art-based. So I did photography, graphics and design, painting, that kind of thing. So I quite liked the visual art and had an interest in that. And then when I was living in London, I used to frequent this place called the Wapping Project. Wapping Project is still around. It's in sort of East London, right near Shad Thames. It's quite a famous old area, but it's on the north side of the river. And the person who was the curator there, she was this Aussie lady, and we got to become friends, and she commissioned me to do a piece, just, because I guess I blagged it, basically, and then from there, I set up a company, and things started to happen more frequently, and so did that, and then after being in England for longer than I had planned, like I was there for 10 years, I decided I needed to come home, and there wasn't really any car photography work in New Zealand, not at the sort of, not car advertising work anyway, because most of the imagery they got was from the overseas photographers, and of course you don't have access to the same cars, and so then I thought, well, I've got to retrain and do something. And I'd done quite a lot of mentoring with photography students from universities, like from Cardiff University and stuff when I was over there. So I really enjoyed it. Yeah. So that's what took me down the teaching route. Yeah. But in the background, I've always been doing music.
Yes.
So I started producing when I was about 20.
Well, you write beautiful songs.
Oh, thank you.
Very good. And I've been lucky enough to play along on some of Colette's songs.
Yeah.
And here's a little plug for us. We're playing at the Tin Hut tomorrow night.
Yeah, we are.
7:15. Colette Rivers and Graphia backing her. Graphia is my band.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got our very dear friends from the Kapiti Coast, Claire Christian and Jeet Road, which is Joe Corwood and Gabe Christian this week. And Mike Rigg, their friend and our friend, who used to be from Masterton, still has very strong connections here, are going to take over the rest of the show from about 7:45. So, but we'll be playing some of your songs then, which we've had fun rehearsing.
We will be. Well, we had fun rehearsing just the other night.
Yeah.
So we had a couple of hours with them. But yeah, I've got, after this, I actually have rehearsals with my other band, who I've got some musicians that play with me regularly. Yeah. And so 2 of them are coming up from Upper Hutt. Where they live in Upper Hutt, so they have to come over the hill. Yeah. Usually when we rehearse, either I go down there or vice versa. And Jordan Treadray is playing drums.
Yes.
So
and you're rehearsing for the Wellington Folk Festival?
Yes, that's right. So
which is not this weekend, but next weekend.
I know. I said the other night it's in 2 weeks, and actually it's in exactly 1 week, which is a bit scary. But so I'm playing. I'm one of the acts on the bill this time. Yeah. So last year I just went along to see what it was like and did a few Blackboard concerts. Mm-hmm. And it's just such a cool atmosphere. And the people there are just really warm, welcoming, enthusiastic. You just walk around the corner and there's musicians standing in a little circle having a jam, and you can go up and join in. And
it's all kinds of music too, isn't it? It's not just folk. We think of folk as acoustic guitars and harmonies and a little bit quiet, nothing too loud. It's
a new folk, I think. Like I call I'm indie folk, I think is the best way to kind of describe my music, because I have I have drums, I have electronic instruments as well, but there's something about the actual songwriting itself where I have it's lyrically driven, which is quite a folky thing, and I think at the Wellington Folk Festival they have a lot of Americana and bluegrass and that sort of stuff. That there are some bands that are just very much in that style, but they're toe tapping and a lot of fun in that sense.
Yeah, sure. So the other thing I wanted to talk with you about, I'm just trying to find one of your songs on my phone.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah, so we can play that next. But with your experience as a drama teacher, you had a difficult time, didn't you?
What do you mean?
Towards the end, in terms of energy and the demands on your time and your creativity, and just you were full on. I know, hugely committed, but that had quite an effect on you, didn't it?
Definitely, I think it does with all drama teachers across New Zealand. I think it's just one of those positions that that takes a lot of time. A lot of your personal time as well. So I know a lot of people who don't know teachers or don't have teachers as family members or whatever think that it's quite cushy because you get lots of holidays and things like that. But I was doing long rehearsals, long hours, 90 plus kind of hour weeks. And it can get quite exhausting. And so I'm enjoying taking a year off because I am getting to do focus on the things that I personally love and get a bit of a better work-life balance. So that's good. But I am still employed as a teacher. I'm just taking a year off. So I think there's a lesson in trying to find find a balance with things like that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Well, here's one of your songs.
Oh, which?
Out of the Cage.
Okay.
Should we do that one?
Sure.
You sit and wait for the water to fall, but it never does, and you sit there like a stone. And the world keeps spinning on while you're alone. In a memory forgotten, sleep the dreams you thought you wanted, but they're resting now behind mistletoe. And they burden out the backgrounds of your mind. So I'll go into the wild, out of the cage. Throw down high, feeling alright. It's okay. Feeling alive, and it's how I wanna stay. So I'll go into the wild, out of the cage. All the words we left unspoken, folded fast and quickly broken, but you didn't seem to care, seem to mind how it lingered in the air and down the line. It all started with a moment, wanting, hoping I could hold it, but you passed along so long, long way. And the world keeps spinning on and on each day. So I'll go into the wild, out of the cage. Throw down high, feeling alright. It's okay. Feeling alive, and it's how I wanna stay. So I'll go into the wild, out of the
Colette Rivers, Out of the Cage, off her EP that was released some time ago. Colette, can you just tell us the music that you've recorded and where it's up to with release? You were saying that you've just got a single about to be released.
Yeah, so I've released an EP earlier in the year called Wandering Thoughts, and that had 4 songs on it. And I've since released another single called Washington Sun, which you know because we are playing it together. And I've got a song coming out this Friday called Pickup Truck, which it's the song that when we play it live, everybody likes that song, I think.
It's almost a rock song.
It's
got a rocky feel to
it. It depends on how you treat it, and that was the funny thing is that when I first produced it, it was about a year and a half ago, actually. And since gigging with it and performing live with it, I've changed the arrangements quite a lot. I've added other instruments. And so I've decided to go back and reproduce it again. So I've got 2 versions that I'm going to release. So I'm releasing the original version, which is definitely more rocky, coming out this Friday on Spotify and iTunes and all of the digital platforms. And then I've got the acoustic version coming out on the Friday after that, which is the 30th. And that's got banjos and mandolins and more percussion than drums. It does have drums, but it's not as heavy, I think, in that way. It doesn't have any synths. I had some synthesizers in the first one doing a riff. And then I'm planning on releasing my album for the summer. And doing some tiki tours around the country.
So how do you go about releasing a song or an album?
Well, anybody can release if they have like an aggregator. So an aggregator is like this online platform. So the one that I use is called CD Baby, and it's you basically submit the song, the artwork, the lyrics. It has to be mastered music. So I get mine mastered by a guy named Mike Gibson at Monkey Studios in Wellington, and so that gets uploaded as like a WAV file, and after about 2 weeks, two weeks, it depends. The dates can change. It gets then sent out to all of the digital distribution sites, such as Spotify, iTunes, etc., etc.
And that's releasing.
That's releasing.
And then you wait.
Well, and then you go onto Spotify and it's there.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah. And there's a process within Spotify that if so like for me, for example, I'm a Spotify for Artists user, so I can go in and look at all of the diagnostics within Spotify and see who's listening and that kind of thing. But it is really very, very difficult still, I think, if you are an independent.
Yes.
Because getting the word out, getting people to hear your music and know about it, it is difficult because the market is so much more saturated now than it ever was.
Yeah.
So it's both a godsend being able to do it yourself and not having to rely on record labels, but it's also very, very difficult to
attract attention.
Yeah, so the marketing and the PR and all of that side of it is very, very challenging. Yeah. And I think I'm learning it's also about who you know rather than, a lot of other factors come
Have you
come
tried going around CD shops?
Yep.
Because they're hardly record shops anymore. They're CD shops, and there's not many of them.
There aren't
and
many
seeing
of
if
them.
they'll put them on the display.
Yeah. So my EP Wandering Thoughts is at Slow Boat Records, which is quite cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you said, there aren't really a lot. So I'm going to be putting merch and stuff up on my website soon and setting that up. But because I haven't been doing any gigging or touring very much, it's all just starting to kick off now. Yeah. I'm realizing that I need to get onto sorting that side out. It's also the Cellar, the music store here in town. They've got my CD for sale, and they sell you've got some, don't you?
Steve's a big fan. He tells everybody about you.
Oh, does he?
Oh, yeah.
Steve's great. Yeah. So, and so it is for sale as far as hard copy goes, and it's it's pretty cheap because it's only an EP. But and the album, I'm still deciding. I will probably get some pressed, but there's a huge expense in just getting things like that.
There is. It is expensive, isn't it? So the other people in town, apart from you promoting your album, we've got Yarns and Barns. And last night I went to listen to Carl Nixon and Stephanie Parkin and Charity Norman releasing their books at Headley's. So this is Stephanie's book, Josephine's Garden. It's a beautiful book about Napoleon's wife.
Oh, really?
So set late 1700s.
Where's she from?
Stephanie, she's a Kiwi.
Yeah.
She did her research in Paris.
Yeah.
And she's an environmental ecologist by training. Jeez. And then obviously very disciplined with research. And then she applied her research skills to writing. And this is her second book. Her first book, I think, was also on a gardening theme, and this one's but wonderful language and quite exciting characters. And then there was Charity Norman's book, The Secret of Strangers, and in a little while you folk are going to have the pleasure of listening to Michael Wilson interviewing Carl Nixon, and his book is The Tally Stick, or just Tally Stick, and it's pretty gothic from what I gather. We heard him talk about it, set on the west coast of the South Island. So Carl will be talking to Michael, and I think David Headley will be along about 9:15. So that's a bit more of what's happening in the town. And so you can also catch up with things. I'd just like to give you some of the information about what's coming up in the next week. Including Yarns and Barns, at the Featherston Anzac Hall on Sunday the 18th, Searching for Charlie with Tom Scott. So Tom Scott will be there from 11 till 12, $23 charge to go to that. And then at 1 o'clock, Into the Unknown with Ian Trafford. So that's a double header with Tom Scott and Ian Trafford on Sunday, 11 till 12, and then 1 till 2 in the Anzac Hall in Featherston. Later in the afternoon at the Gladstone Vineyard, Poems on the Vine from 2:45 to 3:45. And this year, the ever-popular Poems on the Vine event features passionate poet Tim Wilson with poet-painter Rebecca Hawkes, who holds the New Zealand Pacific Studios Emma Seiko Poetry Fellowship. R.A.K. Mason Fellow Jenny Powell, reading from her Meeting Rita on the artist Rita Angus, and James Brown, reading from his newly published Selected Poems of James Brown. So the Yarns and Barns has been a great success. This is their 10th year, and they draw authors and poets into the district, and they workshop stuff. We had a lovely experience with Alex Tiley on Monday, talking about her cooking book for children, and then eating pizza outside the Masterton Library. That was a real treat. She's the Pippi Cafe founder, who started off in Greytown. We used to go and eat pizzas there on Wednesday and sit around with acoustic guitars and sing songs, and people would join in.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Now she's at the old fish and chip shop in Havelock North.
Oh, okay.
She took over it. It was a fish and chip shop when she bought it, and transformed it into Pippi Havelock North, which is the place to go for pizza in Hawke's Bay. So Tuesday next week, Flourish with Flowers. This is Pip's initiative. Pip was one of our first guests when I started Move, Mingle and Play, which is now Move, Mingle, Mix and Play.
Yeah.
So at the Cocoa Dessert Bar in Queen Elizabeth Park on Tuesday, 3 till 4 o'clock, she's doing flower arranging. There is a cost to that because I think you go away with a flower arrangement. So depending on which one you want to learn how to do and take away, there's jam jar posies, the lonely bouquet, mini dried flower wreath, and a table decoration. There are times for each of these. On the 13th of October, which we've had, that was jam jar posies. That was Tuesday this week. Next week, the lonely bouquet. Create a bouquet to gift to someone or to leave in a local space as a gift to a stranger. That's next Tuesday. The following Tuesday is the mini dried flower wreath. And then on the 3rd of November, table decoration. Create a floral centerpiece for a special occasion. Each workshop is $40. So, Colette, let me give you a list of things that you could have a look over, and if you'd like to read them out.
Oh my goodness.
I'll give you, the ones that I've put the line beside are the ones to read out. I'm focusing today on things for older people with a little bit of interest in music. There's always a spot for music in my show, but this is not telling people everything that's going on. So I'll just start by talking about the Latin American Salsa Night at the 1860 restaurant, 32 Main Street, Greytown. That's Friday night, tomorrow night, 5 to 10, 5 p.m. till 10. This Friday, the 16th, we'll have a special night with a 3-course Latin menu for $55. Cooking the menu will be our Chilean chef, Alejandra, providing us with her favorites from home. So that's Latin American Salsa Night, which presumably means there's going to be dancing as well as music. And I think they have a DJ, and it'll be a lovely evening. So if you want to book for that, it's 1860, phone number 06 304 9138. Colette, what have you got on your list?
Well, I'm looking at this where it says at noon they've got The Quick and the Dead, so they've got some films that they're doing. I'm assuming that they're also at the Regent Theatre, because the above one says that they're doing the I Am Greta documentary on Friday night.
Is that the screening room?
Is that at the screening room?
I think so.
Okay, because, well, the I Am Greta, it says it's at the Regent Theatre here.
Okay, so one of them's at the Regent, one of them's at the screening room.
Yeah, so underneath it's got at noon is The Quick and the Dead, and then at 6 p.m. they've got The Spirit of the 60s, which is photography by Michael Cooper's photography exhibition.
Yeah.
And
it's on at
that
Arator,
looks quite
isn't
interesting. It might, yeah. So have they got underneath where it is?
Yeah, the Michael Cooper exhibition's definitely at Arator.
Okay,
Still going and well worth a watch.
Yeah. And the Variety Club, the Masterton Variety Club, has, it says practice 10 a.m. to noon, and that's on Albert Street. And they're looking for new members, so that sounds like it could be quite cool, quite interesting. This one is really cool, and I've never done so, but always thought it looked really meditative. It's a bonsai club. I didn't know we had wadded up a bonsai club.
Yeah, I thought that was intriguing too.
Yeah, and so see bonsai trees being potted up and shaped. Buy a tree and pot from the garden barn and have it potted up for free by the club.
Yeah,
that would be quite neat if because I know that there's something very for Japanese people, there's something that is quite sacred about the bonsai.
Yes.
And it is how interesting that we've got such a variety.
Does it say who's teaching that? Or?
No, it says call Michael Davis, who's the secretary.
Yeah.
And and so obviously if you're interested in doing it, you go and you want to actually have your own tree and not just watch them do it. You go down to the garden barn to get So they must be
Garden barn for tickets for bonsai
No,
workshop.
to buy a bonsai tree.
You can buy it.
Yeah, so you can buy a tree and a pot from the garden barn, and then go down to the club.
Yeah.
And that's that's on Sunday, the 18th of October. Yeah, so ring the secretary there. That looks really interesting. There's some music on Monday.
Yeah.
Featherston Music Club, 7 till 9 p.m. at Featherston Community Centre. And it's just saying call Sean, but I imagine you could probably just show up.
Show up with an instrument.
Most musicians are quite happy to have show-ups, especially
as long as there's someone organising it and who knows what they're doing, or at least thinks they know what they're doing.
Indeed.
It'll work.
Yeah. Cool. Well, and I know it's not on here, but I know that Con Art, they've started doing the Sunday open mic jam sessions out there, and that's quite a neat environment.
It is. Is that once a month, or is it every week?
I thought it was every Sunday, but I'm not.
Yeah, well, Nick Brandon's organising that.
Yeah.
So when we have a bit more information, we'll give people the update. But it's worth driving past about 3 o'clock on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And seeing if it's on.
I've played there a couple of times.
I know. Yeah.
And each time I've played, it's been really windy. I just got really unlucky. But it was still really nice, and had nice group of people that were in the audience.
Hey, we're getting to the point where we've probably got to hurry through a bit more information. So I'd like to tell you about a discussion that's been planned on the US election. This Professor Nigel Roberts is coming to the Copthorne on Tuesday next week at 8 o'clock to talk about an analysis of the electoral system in the United States and where the current electioneering process has got to. I suppose you'll be bringing an academic view to that, which is probably going to be immediately challenged by the president. He'll no doubt be tweeting back about Nigel Roberts' opinion expressed at the Copthorne Hotel in Masterton and say he's all wrong, it's all rubbish, it's all fake news, but if it didn't suit him. But anyway, at least Donald's alive. We have to be thankful for that. It'd be terrible to have a dead president, wouldn't it? Especially from COVID. That would just put the fear of God in the soul.
The problem now is that he thinks that he's immune to it, and he's saying some pretty dangerous
Does he qualify to even be termed a thinker?
And so I think a lot of the medical people have warned against that, because the public then think and make the assumption that if you've had it, that you can't get it again. But also it just feels a little bit insensitive, personally, I think, to be making light and saying it's not really a big deal. He has sort of, I mean, you're a doctor, so you would have an opinion on this more than me.
Well, illness is a very personal thing, and some people get very sick when they're ill, and you can't make assumptions about it. You've got to follow it and be prepared to help in all the ways that are possible.
And it also seems very clear that he had a different type of health care than the average Joe would have had down in New York. And I think it's kind of insensitive to just wash over all of the suffering and all of the people who've died and people who have really, really suffered from it. And
not particularly good leadership, is it?
It's surprising how much he has support still, though.
Yeah.
He still has a lot of support over there by the looks of it. But
do you follow it? Do you have a bit of interest?
I do follow it.
Yeah.
I voted a few years ago with the last elections in the States, because I don't know if it's if it's worth saying this on on air to actually give political opinions, but I had voted against Donald Trump getting into power. So
you voted for Hillary.
No, it was before that. So the American kind of voting system is really confusing, and so I had voted for Bernie Sanders. And but it was before it then goes to the 2 finalists.
Yes.
So I don't even really understand how it works. But so
but your vote was counted, you think?
Oh,
Or did it get
definitely.
left in a truck somewhere?
So if you're a U.S. citizen, you can do remote voting, and you fall into the same category as servicemen. So if they're overseas, because I'm still a citizen, I can do an overseas ballot.
So you could be voting in this election
I
too?
could, but I wasn't organized enough, and I also don't intend on living back there for at least for the foreseeable future.
No,
so
must be pretty scary.
It does, it I think it's changed a lot since I was a kid. Sure. But when you're a kid, you're not aware of much outside of your own little circle. But it's definitely interesting because it feels like it does affect us over here now. It affects the whole world, really, what is going on there, which is I don't think it's something that we want to be happening, but I think it is the reality of the situation that we are affected by the decisions made over there.
And we have very different quality of leadership here too, don't we?
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
Hey, Colette, it's been wonderful having you here, and
Thanks.
I hope we can go on co-hosting the show.
Well, I think it would be really interesting. It would be quite fun.
It might be that you're here next week and I'm sitting over there helping out. We've got a bit of arrangement and training to go through to get that. No doubt Michael will have your ear.
So I'll go have a chat with Michael Wilson after this and have a coffee, and we can and with you, and we can talk about what it'll look like.
Looking forward to our show tomorrow at the Tin Hut.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it as well, but not just playing, because I love playing live and that sort of thing, because getting a reaction is it's a very different thing from getting a reaction from yourself. It's a way to test the waters with your songs. And so that's always a really positive experience.
Yeah, the audience is great down there.
Yeah, I haven't played there before, so that'll be
but you've been there in the audience.
I've been there, and I've been one of the people supporting the bands, and you guys played, and the Dixie. Now, what is there? The Rimataka Dixie All-Stars Dixie Swing Ensemble. Yeah, and they were fantastic. I was really, really impressed by both of the acts that night. So we were there for hours. We stayed for a long time, and so quite excited to see Jeep Road and Claire Christian, and is it Mike Rigg. Yeah. So he's one of the members of the band, and then he's going to do a separate set?
No, he's a solo guy who plays with Claire, so that they play as a duo.
Yeah. Okay.
He's not played with Jeep Road before.
Oh, cool.
I think we have to wind up.
Okay, well, thank you.
And thanks for coming along, and thanks everybody for listening. It's been great to be on Arrow FM 92.7, and we'll be back in a week's time. So until then, bye-bye.